boys and girls, well, mostly boys, but brace yourself, because today we're diving into what might be the craziest project I've ever taken on, building a 1959 Les Paul guitar. Yep, you heard that right. I've never built a guitar in my life, but hey, what could possibly go wrong, right? I mean, it's only the holy grail of electric guitars. No pressure. So I'm doing my research, looking around on YouTube, minding my own business, and I come across this video.
If you're thinking about building your first electric guitar, don't build a Les Paul.
Now this could either be the smartest thing I've ever done or the absolute dumbest. I have no idea which, but you're about to find out alongside me as we build this guitar together. Now let's talk about what makes this guitar so special. For starters, the carved maple top and mahogany body, that brightness and warmth combo. The neck, it's got that 50s profile. It's a little bit wider, but still very thin. The nitrocellulose finish allows the wood to breathe and expand and contract, creating a checking effect that's stunning. These guitars came with PAF pickups, which stand for Patent Applied for Humbuckers, designed by the legendary Seth Lover. But let's not kid ourselves here. Building a 1959 Les Paul is not going to be a walk in the park. But whether you're a seasoned luthier or a curious beginner, this is going to be one wild ride. So stick around, because we're about to recreate one of the most iconic guitars in history. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. So here's the top. The guy that I'm building this guitar for had a friend that CNC'd this profile already. Normally, everybody that I've seen builds these guitars does the contour after it's glued to the body. So I'm gonna make a cut right in the outside, remove all this thickness here so I can see where the outside shape should line up with the body. So there you go. Now the top is pretty much the size of the body, and now I have to line it up and figure out how I'm going to clamp this, because typically you profile the top on these after it's glued onto the body. But my guy had this already machined, so it presents a bit of a challenge. Let me come up with a workaround on that. This is what I've come up with. Okay, here's my dry run clamping setup. I made these out of oak, and they follow the contour of the body shape. There's a whole setup to do that. I didn't film it. It was very tedious, but each one of these, I have them numbered 1 through 4. And this is how I'm gonna glue it up. I'm also going to use a very traditional glue on this. You'd think they used hide glue for everything on these 59s, but actually they used a formaldehyde-based glue for the tops. And what I heard the reason is hide glue needs air to cure, and this formaldehyde glue, it's like a plastic-based glue. It does not need air to cure. So in case you're not aware, these 59 Les Pauls, the neck pocket is routed at about a 4.5 degree angle. That's why I have the template clamped on one side, and it's tilted at that 4.5 degree angle. Now I need to route out for this truss rod, and the route is a 1/2 inch deep on the nut end, and then it's 5/8 deep on the heel side. So it's at a taper. The best way I've come up with, I've got 2 different size shims taped in place. These are about 1/8 of an inch here. These are about a 1/16 or so. This is going to sit down on the table like this. These 2 shims that are in place are going to give it a tapered slot. I'll show you. This will make more sense in a second. Okay, now I got it cut to the right width. Fits in there perfect. I just got to notch this out for the end piece, and then I got to do the route for the truss rod nut. Still haven't figured that out yet, but I'm crossing bridges when I come to them on this project. So originally my plan here was to trace around the template, cut it out on the bandsaw, then bring it over to my router table. But as soon as I started making a cut with this cutter, I realized I was taking too heavy of a cut and I really needed to come up with a different plan. So I'm rethinking this. Instead of using that router to cut this profile, what I'm thinking of doing is putting this template back on, cutting it a little bit more precise to the template, because all this is going to get all radiused and carved all by hand. The two real critical parts are the heel, this tenon, and then the headstock. So the headstock, I'm thinking of just putting it on my spindle sander. And then as far as this goes, I got an idea to route this, because I have to route out the shape, the thickness, and the width of the tenon anyway, because it has to be at a 4-degree angle. So that's a whole separate deal over there. So I'm going to take this back to the bandsaw, cut it a little closer to the line, pretty much right on the line. Just leave it a little bit oversized to finish it with the file and rasps and sand and all that to get the profile. So that's what I'm going to do. Take it back to the bandsaw. So this little device here, I basically built a box around this neck, and the front of it is cut at this 4-degree angle. I didn't come up with this idea. I got this from this guy, Freddie Fretz, I found on YouTube. And he built a box exactly like this. The only difference is I added these screws so this can lock in place. He just kind of used like wedges. This is going to go ahead and follow this 4-degree taper on both sides. I'm going to remove a little bit of material right now just to test this, see how this works, and then I'm going to come in and do both sides, and hopefully this will work out. So there you have it. I got to get it down to this thickness here. So I got a little bit left to go. I'm just going to do some measuring right now and see how this looks. But thank you, Freddie Fretz. If you want to check out his channel, I'll leave a link down in the description. There's two guys that I've been referring to during this whole build. One of them is Freddie, and the other one is Big D Guitars. He's got a lot of good ideas on his channel, and he's done this quite a bit. So shout out to those two guys. I'll leave links to their channels down below. You can check them out. So here's my nerve-wracking setup for drilling the cavity for the truss rod nut. But what could go wrong? I hope I didn't go down too deep. Oh shit. Oh shit, I went through it. Well, the operation worked. But I went in a little bit too deep. I could put a plug in there. I should be able to make that work. Okay, so I made a little plug. It's out of mahogany, and this is going to slide right into this slot. It's going to add some glue. It's going to glue it in. There's always a fix. So I'm going to glue this in place, and then I'm just going to recut this slot just in that area, and it'll be all good. Speaking of all good, I think this is an all good place to stop the video for this week. But the work goes on next week, so join me in part 2 of this series of building a 1959 Les Paul.